Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the weekly armchair. I hope you're well. Saturday morning supplement. We're going to start stealing that name now. But a massive game on Monday. And I'm sure you guys have all had conversations with your mates. I know that you spoke about it briefly last night, Reese, and just to mention as well, really good show last night by Jamie. Reese was on it as well, and a couple of others. Really good conversation. And obviously talking about Casemiro. I want to get your thoughts on that as well, and obviously all the links this morning. But of course, we want to talk about Liverpool too. So anyway, yeah, get your comments in, guys. Get liking, get subscribing, really important. And we're discussing and read them out and go from there. I'll come to Freddie first, just because he's not been on for a little while, and obviously, as I said, Reece was on last night. How you doing, my man? Talk to me about Casemiro. Obviously, we've been linked with Anthony, and there's also talks are actually going for Anthony and Gakpo, which is quite incredible. Obviously, we know it doesn't steer away from the shit that we get from them. But it does worry me that fans are going to sort of be cold a little bit. Talk to me about all that. Just give me your thoughts, man.
Yeah, it's been a manic week, hasn't it? I mean, in the aftermath of the Brentford fiasco, we've had a combination of Elon Musk said he's going to buy the club and then trolling us. We've had the Glazers supposedly willing to sell minority shares to the Apollo private equity firm in the US. We've had a spokesman for Jim Ratcliffe saying he's willing to buy the club, supposedly. We've missed out on Rabiot, which some could deem as a blessing in disguise, and we've signed Casemiro and had an €80 million bid for Anthony rejected. So just a normal week as a United fan.
And breathe.
And breathe. And it's not even over yet. We've still got the weekend and Monday ahead. So I think Casemiro ultimately, he's a good signing. He's an upgrade to our midfield options. He addresses a problem area that we've had for many years. So I'm a little bit skeptical, which is natural. I think as a United fan, we're always going to have these concerns with our recent transfers in recent years. The profile of the player, a lot's been made of his age. He's 30, which I think is absolutely fine.
Can I just quickly interject there, Fred, and you can come back in. I really don't understand everyone's annoyance around his age or whatever, negativity. Listen, I know we've been burnt before, and generally speaking, I think there is obviously a bit of a worry that whenever Real Madrid are looking to sell you a player or Bayern Munich, then it could be an issue. But he had 3 years left on his contract. He's 30 years old, an exceptional player, and something we've been missing for years. And sometimes, age is just a number in with experience and wealth. Do you know what I mean? It's just crazy. I don't understand that.
It's just if this was any other club that's not United, this would have just got brushed off, or it wouldn't have even been considered. The same with Martinez's, height issues, which has just exploded in the last few weeks in the media. From the concerns I have more so are the manner in which we've signed this player. I mean, would we have signed him if we hadn't have lost the first two games? Why have we left it for the last 2 weeks of the window? Why, the majority of our transfer business should have been completed prior to the season starting. And how many points are the club willing to drop in order to get these signings over the line? It's just an absolute disgrace. And the other thing is, Frankie de Jong's gone dead in the water. This guy's a completely different profile of player. It indicates that the club haven't really got a strategy. What's the motive behind the signing? Is it just an appeasement for the fans? You're hearing things. You don't know what to believe in the media. I fully appreciate that. But this one, we seem to have a reputation of A, panic buying, and B, spending years or months on transfers. This is a big transfer that's happened, and it's happened in the space of a day or two without even being reported on. So it shows that the ability is there to do that. It shows the money is there, that is available to Ten Hag. But why are they rushing to get it in time for the United match with the protests planned in place? The whole, it just stinks of a panic buy, which I think it is. But equally, I'm a little bit torn because is he an upgrade on our midfield options? Yes. He's a 4 or 5 time Champions League winner. I'm just very skeptical at the moment as a United fan because it hasn't worked with Varane. Keeping on the Real Madrid theme, Ronaldo debatable. So until he's played, until he's in the shirt and signed on the website, until he's actually played, the proof will be in the pudding then. But I think one signing isn't going to solve all of our issues, even though it's in one of the most problem areas. We now need to, in my opinion, we need a right back. We need one or two strikers, like you mentioned, Anthony. The other thing about Anthony, I think Ajax would have taken less a couple of months ago than the 80 million we bidded. So it's just a complete fiasco. Hopefully you get one or two of them over the line, but yeah, I think the big priority as a club and as a fan base, we just need to get behind the Glazer out protests. Don't let these these transfers diminish what the actual main aim should be. And yeah, I'm more excited about what Monday's protests are going to look like, more so than any transfers at the moment, because I'm just numb to it all now. If we just move a little bit closer to these owners leaving, that's going to get me more excited than any transfer in the world.
Yeah, some very, very good points there, actually, Fred. And yeah, I wholeheartedly agree with you. I think it does. I think it takes the shine off of transfers. You're absolutely right. We could have had this done months ago. It just shows you that things can be done quickly. They seem to take the fun out of it. And again, sometimes I feel that United do this for a bit of drama, for a little bit of just added effect, really. But actually, again, they're missing a trick. A bit like if performances were better on the field, United would make more money commercially. And if they were to get things done quicker, it would make the fans happy, and therefore, do you know what I mean? Exactly. Not happy, but it just has a massive, huge knock-on effect, and I really can't understand it half the time. Yeah, very good points, well made. Reese, thank you for coming on, buddy. Good to see you. Any more to add to that, really? Just very quickly, actually, Matt, morning, boys. This is a shiny new signing to try and take away from the drama on Monday. You're absolutely right there, and I've had many conversations. I hope it doesn't detract from that, because I think it's important that the fans are heard all the time, but I think Monday is the perfect point for that. Sorry, Reece, go on.
What else is there to say? I already said it last night, didn't I? Like, it's a deflection signing for me, plain and simple. Really good player, but it's just to take away focus on the ownership and the drama behind the scenes. I feel sorry for Casemiro, I honestly do. I honestly feel sorry for him, mate. He's a quality player. What's up, co-host? I honestly feel sorry for him. He's a phenomenal player, but it's just the eye away from the bigger picture. He's a phenomenal player, though. He's phenomenal, but it's clear as day what this is about.
Yeah, absolutely right. And I don't know if I know enough on Gakpo. Just very quickly, Is he good? I know he's young, obviously from PSV, 23, isn't he? My concern is, I know you and I had this discussion last night. My concern is that we are trying to get too many inside forwards in again. And I know you've said to me that Gakpo can play number 9. He has for Netherlands. But it just concerns me that, Ronaldo, I think, wow, we should get rid of him. If he doesn't go, I'll be shocked. But are we really replacing that? Is Martial good for a number 9? Rashford can't do it. He's only good on the left, and he's not really doing that at the moment. Do you know what I mean? But just give me a bit more about him, a little bit.
It is more of the left position, obviously. He is an inside left forward, but he also can't play through the middle. He is tailor-made to be like a Marcus Rashford. He's the same ilk. Like, he likes to beat players, but the difference is, no disrespect to Rashford, but Gakpo's got more of a football brain. Like, he actually understands the situation a bit more. He's actually better at beating players. I think Rashford, since his injuries, he just doesn't have the confidence in his ability anymore. Whereas Gakpo he's coming into his own. He's getting a bit more experience at the top level. He's playing in Europe. The only thing for me, though, is it's a bit too soon for him I think it's a bit. I think he needs another year, particularly under his new manager Van Nistelrooy. I think he needs another year, just see how he plays, because obviously PSV haven't played in the Champions League in quite some time. I think he should be able to try and showcase his ability in the Champions League more often and see if he is the right move. But 21 goals in 47 games in all competitions last season, I think it's worth it. In all due respect to him, I think Rashford's a decent player, but I would rather have Cody Gakpo over him. But at the minute, I think Gakpo's a bit too soon because he's not played enough at the top level. He's only played a couple of years at PSV, although he is a PSV Youth Academy graduate.
Can I jump in? Can I just ask, actually, a question for you boys? Do you think, A, that the Gakpo and Antony deals are exclusive of each other, or is it one of the other? And B, who would you prefer out of the two? If not, would you prefer an Antony or a Gakpo? Who do you think suits the team better?
Go on, Reece, you go first.
I think they're both separate deals. I think they're both separate, try to spend as much money as possible to try and deflect from the fact that the owners don't spend when, in fact, well, the owners do spend when we all know they don't. I would take both in the sense that you've got a backup option if the event Jadon Sancho does a walkabout and he doesn't have good form, and you've also got the fact that you've got cover for Martial if Ronaldo goes and Gakpo. You've also got cover if Rashford ends up not improving his performances. And then you've got Antony right in the middle of it all as well. He can go into the right-hand side, but doesn't matter how much we spend on them. It's for them, there's immediate pressure because the amount of money we spoke about last night, which is brilliant. But my problem is we already have to spend 100 million on one of them. That'll be Antony. 35 million on Gakpo is actually all right, depending on what happens next week in the Champions League, next Wednesday night. I would like both, but it's just going to be another sense of, are these players coming for the right reasons? Of course, for us, obviously, we want them to, but we know it's 115 million, something like that. And it's just going to be, oh, look, the owners are spending money, when it's not the case.
One of the things you mentioned, that's the main concern I've got about the Casemiro deal. Is he coming for the right reason? Think everything suggests no. The wages, he's leaving the European champions to come to a torrid United at the moment. Yeah. I think we need to be targeting young, hungry players, and that's my biggest concern with Casemiro. That there's no doubt how good a player he is, but is he the right profile of player that United should be targeting? We need to be signing players that are yet to hit their peak, not players who have hit their peak and are arguably on the decline. Doesn't matter when, but he has peaked at Real Madrid. It's just how long he can maintain the levels and what's coming to a new league as well. The Antony deal does excite me a lot, I must admit. The money's silly. At the moment, I just don't care about the money for obvious reasons. I think we need players to improve the squad. But one thing I agree with you. I think they are exclusive of each other. It wouldn't be one of the other. I totally agree with Matt's comment there. Very fantastic. But one thing I think as well, Matt actually mentioned, you think he named Rashford. I think if we sign either of those, the person who's going to be in trouble is Rashford.
I was thinking about this. Yeah. I was thinking about this yesterday. It's not a given that Ronaldo is going to go. I think he should, and I think he will, but it's not a given. And so who does that sort of make vulnerable? And I think you're right there. Yeah, listen, from what I understand, just quickly, Reece, from what I understand, I think these two are exclusive deals and doesn't depend on the other. Fabrizio said this last night, and obviously that's great. That's obviously what you want to see and hear as a United fan. But as I said, it doesn't detract away from what's going on. Go on, Reece.
Exactly, just take away from it. So obviously, detracting, like spending money and all that. And I'll actually answer the second part to Matt's question. Yes, they do. Like, they add creativity. Antony's a very creative playmaker. You've got Gakpo that scores goals. Both of them have got abundance of pace. Both of them are still early 20s. They understand the model of football that Ten Hag wants to play. Fast, high-pressing football with transition, with passing the ball around, the possession football. You need a good dressing room. Antony's a good player for Ajax, but he's also very good in the dressing room. Cody Gakpo's the same for PSV. You can hear that in the background.
Family. Pain, isn't they?
Yeah.
No, that's cool, man.
But I think that's the key for me, is that you need, our dressing room is rotten to the core. Like, we need players to come in and replace it. I think some of the players have been here for too long are actually a symbol of that. I don't think Rashford's a problem, but I think he needs to be sold anyway. I don't think he's actually cut for the cloth anymore for United. I think he may need to move on. I think if a club came in and offered 50 million, do it. Like, I think we may as well, because I don't think he's actually going to get better. I think he's actually regressing, which is a shame, really, because he's a decent player. I just think he is actually regressing, and I think Sancho really needs a kick up the ass. Martial through the middle is still possible. I know you've got your doubts on that, and I understand that, but at the minute,
He plays well there sometimes. He's an inside forward. He's an inside forward for me. He's not an out-and-out poacher.
I think we do need.
Need.
I think we do need straight up like a number 9, because even Ronaldo's not a number 9 either. Ronaldo's the same. He's a winger that can play through the middle, but we do need a complete striker. We just don't have. I think we've missed a few tricks on certain strikers, like Adeyemi, Timo Werner going back to the Bundesliga. Like, we've actually missed out on some really decent strikers that actually fit a high pressing team. We've just missed it. I know Fred wants to come, so on you go, buddy.
I totally agree. I just think very quickly on that point, the game's moving back to the traditional number 9. It's recently there's been the fluid dynamic, but I think with the likes of Haaland and Nunes is coming into the league, you do need a focal point, and I don't think we have that. And just very quickly on your point about Anthony in the dressing room, I think there's no coincidence that we are targeting these Dutch players. We are giving full reins to Ten Hag to sign who he wants, because God.
Matt, I'll come for you in your next talk. Matt, I'll come for you in your next stream. I will make a visit.
I just think that the club is rotten. The culture of the club is completely wrong. Ten Hag is targeting players that he knows he can trust, that he knows that can do a job for him, and we need to just back him. Whether it's a risk putting all of our eggs into the Netherlands League basket and Dutch players in general, but I think this season is just going to be one of those seasons where we replace as many players as we can. Those who fit Ten Hag's mould and philosophy, who can carry out the plans, because currently these players haven't been able to do that for 3 or 4 managers. So that's why this window has just been a total disappointment for me, because we've just dilly-dathered up until two nearly 3 games into the season. We should have had a big turnover of players this season, and we haven't done that. But yeah, we just have to hope as a fan base and United fan, and we just got to put faith in the manager, because at the moment he's got 1, if not 2 hands tied behind his back from the owners and the club in general. So yeah, hope is the main word there.
Yeah, I completely agree with you, mate. I completely agree.
Interestingly, Romano has come out this morning and said, well, first of all, Casemiro and his agents now prepared to fly to Manchester. Medical books, then he could be in the stands at Old Trafford for the United-Liverpool game on Monday, which we will get to in a minute, by the way. So he then goes on to say, Man United now working on Anthony as priority as he wants to move, and then keeping contacts for Gakpo as a cheaper option. So, contrary to what he said yesterday, he did say they were both exclusive of each other and they were looking at both. So I'm a little bit confused by that. But then again, also just some good little stats for you here. So last season, 85 million for Anthony, 21 starts, 8 goals, 4 assists, 38 for Cody, and it's 22 starts, 12 goals, 12 assists, which is quite an improvement on Anthony, actually, which, I'd take either one. I'd be happy with either one. Obviously, we've spoken about Anthony at great lengths. I think he's a quality player. Always going to be difficult when you're coming from another league and seeing how you're going to adjust and fit in. Yeah. I don't know enough about Cody Gakpo, so
I think right now I only watched him 3 or 4 games. Obviously, I watched him on Tuesday night. He was actually impressive, but he did have some quiet spells. For me, I don't know about you guys, but regardless of our situation, like with the owners, I think we really have to get greedy. I think we can't just pick preference here. I think we should just honestly go for both. Like, get Anthony, get the right hand side at least. We've got a left-footed winger because we don't have one, and then at least Gakpo. At least we've got another option on the front options. We do need another strike. We do need another striker though. But if anything, We've no guarantees on Sancho's form picking up. There's no guarantees on Rashford. Martial, we're not sure. Ronaldo's future is unclear. Alexander Garnacho needs time to develop as a player. Like, we can't just put all eggs in one basket on whether we spend 85 million or we spend 55 million. I think personally we should get fucking greedy.
We do.
Go for both.
We need the bodies. I mean, look, at the moment, the squad has depleted on a net level. Look how many players have left and look how many players have come in. It's just maths, So what fills that gap, either signings or youth players? At the moment, we've weakened arguably as a club and as a squad. And the way in Mari I have, and Reece just touched upon it, if we get 1 or 2 injuries, and we haven't even started the European campaign yet. So once the season gets full underflow post-September, that's when we're going to, as of today, we're going to.
Thursdays are a bit more difficult, in my opinion. Yeah, they're a nightmare.
Yeah, we need to get greedy. I totally agree with that. Like, just get them in, and just don't lose focus from the bigger picture and the bigger.
Absolutely. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, really good discussion, guys. Really good points. Thank you very much. And loads of you on Twitter. Come over to youtube.com/a weekly armchair. Get your comments in because we can't see them on Twitter. Just make sure you like and subscribe as well, as I said at the beginning of the show, and I will continue to say it's very important to us. So please do. Right, we're going to move on.
I was just saying there was a really good comment. So it was actually just It was actually just reading it from as well. Actually, it's 2 comments, one from Matt and one from Ailey. And it was this one here about could Anthony be the next Ziyech? That's a fair comment. I'll be honest. There is a possibility. I don't think he would though. I don't think he would be, but I think one thing's for sure. That's another player that we should have actually tried to sign, in my opinion. I think we should have tried to get Ziyech, although for some reason we won't pull his hamstrings.
And you know what? I think that we had been linked with Ziyech a couple of times, but I wouldn't be too disheartened by that if he did come to United. I actually think he's a quality player. He didn't quite get there for Chelsea, and I think that Ten Hag would get the best out of him. But
yeah, I agree. And the other one, before we move on, is this one. Like Ailey's comment about would both Anthony Gakpo with Sancho in the 10. I've seen Sancho play in a central role for Dortmund, and he was actually very impressive. But I think he's more inclined to stay on the wings. But I don't get that comment either. Now, like Sancho's not being fast enough. Like Sancho's not the quickest player. Like I agree, but he's probably the far most agile player in our squad. In terms of like beating players, like he's far more agile, like with his feet and brain. Like he's very quick at that. Like his thought process is really quick, and you can see it with his feet. Whereas other players like Rashford, it's the same. It's the same way. Like they've got pace. Well, Rashford's pace is eventually going to decline. So obviously, he's had so many injuries, he just cannot seem to heal from. It's always the same manner for him. It's run at defenders. He gets beat, and then he just stands still. Like he doesn't think. He doesn't track back. It worries me. Like. In a team like Ten Hag, like even like the wingers, the fullbacks, they've got to be in constant sync. If one goes forward, the other's got to at least track the movement. It's only seen it on the right hand side, and I really do question like Malacia. I'm hoping will build a good relationship with whoever plays on the left. We get a good right winger that has a solid relationship with this right hand side, whether it be Anthony or Sancho, depends on who plays. If we have that, then we've got constant flow. And we've got what Ten Hag wants. He has the total football style where you got every player's in one position, they cover, they free the gap, which allows another player to come forward, and it creates more space for a constant attacking flow. If we don't have that sync, then we are in trouble. Sancho in the 10 is not a problem, but I think right now, based on current form, I know like absolutely adore Bruno Fernandes, but right now I would probably play Eriksen. I'd probably play Eriksen in the 10 right now because he seems more composed. I think Fernandes needs a little bit of time just to get his head back into it. Because another thing as well, I was watching another show yesterday and they mentioned Ronaldo and Fernandes, you can only play one. Right now, I agree. You can't play both in the same team. They operate in the same area. It has to be one or the other. If we play Fernandes, you don't play Ronaldo. If you play Ronaldo, you play Eriksen in the 10. The Sancho in the 10 doesn't sound so bad either because he does have really good control of the ball.
Yeah, not a bad point there. We will have to see what they do. I mean, they all need to improve, don't they?
I agree.
Ultimately, it's every single one in that squad need to improve, and maybe we wouldn't be having these sort of should we play? Do you know what I mean? But I do agree. I think I've said it for weeks now. And I think against a team like Brighton and Brentford, Ericsson would have been a far better player to have than Bruno Fernandes. He is not the player you want against those teams. He's a ball carrier as opposed to Ericsson, that's a little bit more technical, can hold the ball a bit more, and when you're playing a team that's sat back, that can be better for you. When you're playing an attacking team, that can be better for you actually as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, I would drop Bruno myself. I mean, he's had a really poor year, to be honest, hasn't he?
Yes.
And
Yes.
it's very difficult to dislike him for that. Not that you want to, but because of the impact he had when he came in. So, but I think he needs dropping. And actually, just one last point on Casemiro before we move on. We have to move on to Liverpool. Casemiro or any specialist defensive midfielder, and we've got, if we obviously get him over the line, one of the best in the world, 100%. Not many of them. There's not enough good ones, in my opinion. Really isn't. Not enough good defensive midfielders. I've said this way back 2.5 years ago on other shows. Getting a defensive midfielder in will unlock everyone in front of you and will guard everyone behind you. A lot of people jump on Maguire's back, Varane's back, Martinez is back. He's 2 games in, you got to wait and see. But with someone sat in front of them, honestly, you will see a massive improvement. I'm telling you. And because you've got that solidity at that point, you haven't got overlaps, you haven't got people coming back. Everyone can do what they need to do going forward. Trust me, this is a good signing. I'm telling you, and hopefully, obviously, hits ground running, and you'll see that. Anyway, we've got to
Few
move
players I
on.
want to improve that I constantly berate. Well, not constantly berate, but you could say strongly criticise for not doing their jobs properly. So I'm hoping that I finally get proven wrong.
Yeah, we shall see. Right, we've got to move on. So, Monday kickoff, always a bit of a nightmare for me. As Matt pointed out as well, really looking forward to the Monday night football interview with Carragher and Neville that Ten Hag's in. So that's going to be interesting. Certainly watch out for that one.
100%.
But yeah, so we've kind of briefly touched upon what we think for Monday. So obviously at the moment, 2 clubs in a bit of disarray, one more than the other. No wins on the board at the minute. How confident are you on Monday, Fred?
Not very, unfortunately. I'm a bit of a pessimist as when it comes to United, unfortunately. So maybe not the best person to talk to at this time, but I'm not very confident. I think the Brentford game and the Brighton games have just been a continuation of last year. I don't think there's been any improvement. The team is mostly the same. I don't think it's the manager's fault at all. I think the players are just not good enough. Some of them, the standard of the league at the moment is so high. There's no easy games, and we just haven't got the quality in the squads. You need 11 solid players. If you have any gaps or any weaknesses, that will get exposed. Liverpool, yes, you're right. They haven't won a game yet, but I think they've actually got a point to prove when they come into this themselves, which is slightly worrying. And there is a train of thought that this is one of our biggest matches, or one of the biggest matches of the season between the two due to the rivalry. All recent form can go out the door. It all depends on who turns up on the day.
Yeah, I was going to mention that actually after you'd finished. Form goes out the window in games
form
like this.
can go out the window, but recent performances from our side and recent performances in this fixture in particular suggest that the players haven't got it in them. So I'll be very, very surprised. However, on the other hand, you can argue that these guys, they have to go at it now. They have to, for their own personal pride, they have to turn up. I think the manager's starting 11 is going to be so interesting to see if he makes radical reform, if he just puts the players out there again, because if he does stick with them, it puts the onus on them, which rightly it should be. So I'm torn. I'm not quite sure how it's going to be. Like I said, I'm a little bit skeptical. I think Darwin Núñez not being available for them is actually quite a big benefit to us. We've struggled in the first 2 games of the season against that profile of striker for many reasons. So I think that will work in our favour. we'll have to wait and see. It'd be interesting to see, how what the capacity of Old Trafford is, if anything, in the process impacts that, and how the players react to that. But we should have had more signings under, in the team at this point, and then maybe I think as a fan base we would have been in better stead for the game. But at this moment in time, from what I've seen so far, it's hard to get optimistic and not behind the team, but it's hard to see anything else that's not a Liverpool win or a draw, which isn't the best thing to say, unfortunately.
No, it's not. And but you're right. And I've in the last few games against Liverpool for 2 or so years, I've probably gone in a bit headstrong and been overconfident. And that's more hopeful than anything. I think as a fan, that's what you like to be, isn't it? Yeah, I do worry for Monday, but I hope you're right this time. I mean, last season, Christ Almighty, the form certainly didn't go out the window for us, did it? We were awful, and 9 goals is just astronomical and really painful. So yeah, we'll just have to see on Monday, I suppose. And
can you imagine if we do
right.
win? If we do win and we go above them.
I'll tell you what, I'll be calling up one of my best mates and I will not let him live it down. I tell you, he's a nightmare Liverpool fan. I love him to bits, but I will go in.
Fantastic.
Yeah, we'll see. So we'll talk about formations then. Obviously, we spoke a bit about that a moment ago with Ericsson. I think you're absolutely right, Reese, with that. I think, Fred, you might have mentioned it too, instead of Bruno. So David Hess starts, I think. I actually want to see Tom Heaton start, if I'm honest, but I think David Hess starts, so we won't talk about that. But Reese, if you want to talk about your defensive lineup first of all, and then I'll come to you, Fred.
Well, I've been debating it for a while, so I'm not sure if we go back 4, we go back 3. Although I do think I wouldn't be surprised if we went for a back 3 in this game. But I'd rather play I'd rather play the lesser of 2 evils than Wan-Bissaka, even though he's absolutely crap. Varane, Martinez left back on the side of it with Malacia and Varane, in that defensive area, and Varane completing the back 4. Like, Malacia's my left back. I don't want Shaw there. He's not been good enough for a long time. Midfield.
We'll come back to midfield in a minute. Go on, Fred.
I'd probably go Wan-Bissaka, Varane, Maguire. Sorry, Martinez, Malacia. That'd be my back 4. Sorry.
Well, I totally agree on the Wan-Bissaka point. I'm one of Dallow's biggest, sort of critics. I don't think he's good enough. I don't think he's good enough defensively. I think it's a myth that he's actually good going forward and that he's a good crosser. But we don't see that. I'd rather exactly what you mentioned, the lesser of 2 evils. At least with Wan-Bissaka, we know that you can rely on him defensively to a point. Okay, going forward, you've got a bit of a question mark, but we haven't seen anything to sort of suggest otherwise from Dallow. I think it's an area one of the first areas similar to central midfield that we should have addressed this summer. I'm gobsmacked we haven't brought a right back in, and Wan-Bissaka hasn't even played during pre-season. So if Dallow does get injured, God knows what is going to happen there. I agree with Malacia. I think he has to start. Shaw's not been good enough. The centre-back pairings, I've been thinking about this for a very long time. I think Martinez has to start. I think he will be the first choice going forward. And I think it's been exaggerated. His performance has been exaggerated to the extent in the media so far. Yeah. I think he's actually
I think he's been our best player, actually. In the first game, he was actually quite solid. In the second game, barring that muscle out for one of the goals, for third goal, wasn't it?
Yeah.
He actually was our. I saw some clips, and I appreciate obviously these are going to put a positive spin on him, but he actually was very dominant, very calm, great distribution, and I think people are just idiots, man.
Yeah, I mean,
people telling me Maguire's better than him this year, and I'm like, all due respect to Maguire, no, he's not. He's not.
You mentioned one of the comments mentioned the Carragher Neville interview with Ten Hag on Monday. I've seen, one of the snippets actually. Unsurprisingly, Scott. One of the things they put forward is his height to Ten Hag, which is mind-boggling. But Ten Hag's answer was, if you actually look at the statistics and if you actually look at the the whole game rather than clips it themselves. He's been good. He suggests he's been one of the better players, which you mentioned,
Yeah,
Mark. So
100%. I haven't even
I've
seen that clip, so I obviously know what I'm talking
exactly.
about. So that's nice.
Exactly.
I knew he'd be the next stand before you all. I said it in our group chat.
Yeah, it's a big claim that is, buddy.
I'm not sure about the partner. I think he's going to stick with Maguire. It's a big game to change that partnership for the first time. I think most of us would like to see Varane, but I think he's going to stick with Maguire just because of the unknown of swapping the partnership for the magnitude of this game. So, yeah, I agree with. I would have the same back four as you, Reese, but I think he's going to play Maguire with Martinez. And Dallo will start.
I'm going to go quite a bit different, actually. This is obviously more hopeful, but I'm going to go hugely different. I actually think Shaw's going to start. I'd love Malacia to start. I really, really would. And of course, there is all with all intents and purposes, probably might. But I think Shaw, he will stick with Shaw. But actually, I have seen it over the last few days. You've probably seen it too, everyone in the comments as well. Get your thoughts in. Who's your back four? Harry Maguire's place is under a bit of threat. And I've just read here as well, Harry Maguire's place in the Man United starting 11 is understood to be under threat, with Raphael Varane pushing for a return to the team. Eric Ten Hag will make a decision in the next 24 hours. And I've seen a few reports of that. So with that in mind, and listen, I don't dislike Harry Maguire at all. I think he's very, very, very unfairly treated, actually. I think he's a lot better than what people give him credit for. But anyway, with that in mind, I do think, actually, I'm going to say Varane. You spend 30-odd million on a world-class... I know he's been injured, but won the Champions League 5 times. You start him, in my opinion. I think... I think we'll see him alongside Martinez, I think. For me. Don't know. But we'll see. Anyway, let's come to the midfield. A little bit tougher. And this is something that we could play to our strength as well. If you look at Liverpool's midfield for the last 2 years at least, it's their weakest part of their squad. I know Thiago, he is a very good player, absolutely. I would have loved him. But very injured for the first part and very temperamental. Henderson, I've never been a fan of. I know he does more than what meets the eye, but he's a bit like a Carrick, I suppose. Not as good as Carrick. I'm just saying that you do things sort of very silently, and he does do that. There's no doubt about that, but he's not as good as what people make out, in my opinion. So yeah, with that in mind, who's your starters for the midfield, Reese?
So I'm going to go with the second choice Brazilian. I think I wouldn't be surprised, although I really hope he doesn't actually get involved in this game. I wouldn't be surprised if McTominay's in midfield. I really wouldn't be surprised, although I hope to hell it doesn't happen. But I would say Fred, McTominay, and I think in a game like this where we really need to try and get any sort of control, I would probably play Eriksen in my number 10 role personally. I would play Eriksen, Fred, McTominay. I think that's it. Until Casemiro's available for Southampton, that's what I'm going with right now. Second choice Brazilian. Awful midfielder beside him because he doesn't do anything for me. Personally, McTominay doesn't do anything. I can't wait for him to get dropped. That's purely because I've seen him play first time for my country. He's just not that good enough for me. He's one of the players that is too sentimental by certain fans, which for me really shouldn't be the case. There shouldn't be any sentimental mentality towards these players. We're Man United fans. We're not player FC. So that's why it should be for me. Going forward, I would have Fred, Casemiro, Bruno, Eriksen on the right. That's what I would do going forward. But right now I have Fred, McTominay, McCollar up as I've been calling him lately, and Eriksen the 10 role.
Yeah, that's. I'm just trying to think what else there is really. That's a good points well made. Are you in agreement, Fred?
Yes, unfortunately, I think there's a distinction here who when we give our opinions on these teams, who we think it's going to be, and who we want it to be, I think it's going to be McFred and Eriksen. I think Bruno will get dropped. It's all about balance, and Liverpool's midfield has always been criticised as their weakest part, which it probably is on paper. But they've got the balance. They've got such a fantastic front three. But then they've got the industry in the midfield. Your Hendersons, your Milners, your Fabinho can do a job, and they allow the front three to flourish. I think we're going to go with that tomorrow with Fred and McTominay, and I think it will be Eriksen over Bruno. Bruno, he doesn't deserve to start, unfortunately. The only thing I'll say is we can't play out from the back with McTominay. You can't play Fred deep. McTominay is not. Neither of those are deep players. I mean, Eriksen was there last week. None of those you can play deep. You can't play out from the back with those three in midfield, and that's the only thing I'd say Ten Hag needs to address. I think we'll probably see Bruno, maybe Donny in the second half at some point. But yeah, unfortunately, until Casemiro and hopefully another midfielder comes in, it's going to be McFred and Eriksen.
Yeah, I agree about the second half thing. I would bring, obviously, in terms of quality players, Bruno is one of my favourite players in this squad, but I won't hold him from criticism. There's players who cannot evade criticism. He's one of them. Second half, against tired legs of that aging Liverpool midfield, and some of those Liverpool defenders are aging out of form. A fresh Bruno off the bench would cause them a lot of problems, especially with industry, passing the ball quickly and even taking a couple of shots from outside the 18-yard line. I wouldn't be surprised. I think that would actually be wiser, because Eriksen could just pickpocket them for about 60, 70 minutes, just clear, concise passing. 25, 30 minutes of Bruno Fernandes just running at you. You'd beg for an inhaler.
Yeah, it's good. It would be a good option to have, and I absolutely agree with Fred there. Listen, one thing I will say, Reece, actually, it's not that I disagree with you. I know that Eriksen can play as an 8, as a 10 across the front three, but I think Eriksen's made it abundantly clear that he is best in the 8, and I can't ever see him playing on the right-hand side.
I just think he's Spurs days, just how good he really was.
Yeah,
on that
100%. 100%.
Long ago, but
I don't think we'll have that, not against this Liverpool side. And with that in mind, I think you're absolutely right there about Bruno coming off the bench. Great option to have. Just quickly here, Billy, thanks for joining us, buddy. Good to see you again. Arsenal guys, happy Casemiro Day. That's exactly what I want to see on a Saturday.
I agree.
And we're coming up to midday shortly. As you've said, I agree with everything you've said, actually, guys. But I think it will be McTominay, Fred, and Eriksen, myself in the 3 there, and obviously you've got that double pivot. Then be nice to be able to actually play a 4-3-3 going forward, wouldn't it? As opposed to a box to box.
You know, actually, would be a good thing though, in abundance, if Fernandes does get dropped. The good thing about that is it finally shows the sense that a manager has has an element of control in the dressing room. Because Fernandes, for how good he is, he always starts. You very rarely see him get dropped. He's one of a few players that very rarely gets dropped. If you see the team being rotated like that, especially in a big game against Liverpool, where he favours the new signing over the main number 10 at the club, if he does that, it shows that there's an element of control in the dressing room, and I think that's something that we have lacked for a long time. I think it would be a very telling point for the club. It'd be good though, because obviously Fernandes can get a crucial rest, and we can use him in the right way. We can use him differently. But if he does if he does in that sense not start him, it shows who actually does have control in the dressing room, which always has lacked for so long, which we've always criticised player power. Could be the very start of that fading.
Yeah, that's a good point. Sorry,
sorry, very quickly on that last one. I just think Fernandes is so dependent as well as on who is in front of him, and we'll come on to that now in the front 3. But yeah, we'll see what this whole Ronaldo nonsense of will be revealed in 2 weeks. I'm very intrigued to see what that means, because I agree. I don't think you can field those two in the same team.
Yeah. And Billy, in agreement here as well. I'd like to see Eriksen play in the Bruno position. We haven't learned our lesson yet of playing Mata out of position. Yeah, absolutely spot on. Very, very good point. Right, yeah. So front 3 then. Obviously, Reece, you first, my man.
So in the event that obviously if we play Fernandes in the 10, I'm just going to say that as an example. If we play Fernandes in the 10, then I would play Sancho, Martial, and I'd actually play Garnacho on the left wing. If we have Eriksen in the 10, I'd have Martial in the 9. If we're playing Fernandes in the 9, I'd play Martial in that area. If we're playing Ronaldo as a number 9 role, then that's why Eriksen's got to play in the 10. And I'd still play Sancho and Garnacho as my wingers. It depends on who plays in the 10 role. If Fernandes plays 10, you've got to play Martial. If Ronaldo plays in the 9, you play Eriksen. So I'm going Sancho, Ronaldo, Garnacho to tie in with the Eriksen in the 10 role. That's what I'm going with.
Yeah, fair points, and don't disagree with that. I really want to see. I'll let Fred talk first and give me his front three, and then I'll go.
I'm going to go a bit different, actually. I think one of the biggest issues in our squad at the moment is that the wingers don't track back, and we're just getting doubled up on our fullbacks, who are not that great defensively, especially Dalot. So on that basis, I'm going to go Sancho on the left, Ronaldo up top, and Elanga on the right, just because I think he has got a bit more industry. He'll track back a bit more and cover Dalot. It's not a very good option, I'll be honest. I feel a bit sorry for Elanga. I think he's just been thrown in far too early. I think Rashford needs to get dropped. Similar reasons to Bruno. Hasn't lit the world alight. The one I'm most excited, I think he might come on second half, especially now with the 5 subs. I'm very excited, and I can't believe I'm even saying this, but I'm excited that Martial is back in the squad, because I think as a team we are going to perform better with Martial instead of Ronaldo up top as a team. I just think we're going to create more chances, and ergo we're going to score more goals, because there's no doubt Ronaldo last year, fantastic player. Without his 18 goals, God knows where would have been. And he's got he'd have the best conversion and strike rate in our team. But as a team, I just think we don't create enough chances with him. And Bruno's dropped because of Ronaldo, and that just by the law of averages, with someone like Martial who can run past defenders, especially with Liverpool's high line or teams pushing up higher now, will create more chances and score more goals.
Yeah, he's a perfect man, actually. I've always slated Martial on many occasions, and I said 2 years ago that I think he'll be up for being sold. That's obviously not happened or come to fruition yet, but I have also said that he is very good with link-up play. He's perfect between that sort of midfield number 8, even number 10. And then your number 9, or even as a number 9, he's not an ideal number 9, but he's a very different number 9, if that makes sense. That does that link up play perfectly. And I think you're right. I think that if he comes back and he can hit the ground running, and do what it is that we know that he can do, I think he would be really good against Liverpool. And with that in mind, for me, I'm going to say Martial does start, actually, but with Ronaldo as well. I think Ronaldo will be number 9. I think Martial could be on the left, Sancho on the right is what I'd go. I just think that gives you a little bit more dynamism and a little bit more, as I say, that between the sort of lines of the midfield and the strikers. I just want to see him play. I just want him to hit the ground. I want him to come in and really sort of have a good game for us, but we'll have to wait and see. Just quickly here from Matt. Ten Hag was asked about Ronaldo, saying it will be all revealed in 2 weeks, and Ten Hag just replied back saying, I don't know what he is trying to do or prove. I think it's been abundantly clear that he's tried to sell him for a number of weeks. Joel Glazer, the wanker, has vetoed it, and here we are. So sorry for my fantasies. I just it winds me up.
I'd say we go greedy again. If Ronaldo wants to leave, I don't care about Atletico Madrid ultras. I don't give a crap about Athletic ultras. I'd go straight to the president of Atletico and be like, well, here you go. Do you want Ronaldo? See. We'll give us João Felix then.
Did you know? I don't know if you watched. I'm sure you both have watched the All or Nothing Arsenal, but getting rid of Aubameyang, look what Arsenal done and benefited from on the back of it. I see us in a similar position. Short term, okay, we might we'll lose some goals, no doubt, but for the long term benefit of the club, Ronaldo is not the answer and should go sooner rather than later. And Reece, you hit the nail on the head. We've just got to be greedy, get a body in to replace him, and then short-term pain for long-term gain.
Yeah, for all good he isn't the main problem that everyone thinks he is.
No.
There's a narrative that he's the main problem on the field. He's not the main problem. The problem is the team doesn't fit around him anymore. Like, if this had been like Ronaldo like 5-6 years ago when he was at his absolute peak with Real Madrid and we had him,
you'd work
we wouldn't
around
have
him,
that problem. Yeah, you'd build around him and you would win everything. But right now, for as good as he is at scoring goals, and he's trapped back in our games a lot more than our wingers have, and that's a very telling story. Like, that's something that people criticise him when he doesn't do this. Like, for all the so-called problems that he does score those goals. He hasn't scored yet, but I do agree. As much as I would love Ronaldo to stay and be that focal point, this is who I would honestly have. I would honestly have João Felix. I think he'd be the perfect option for us right through that middle, especially because Liverpool play a false nine. Man City, yeah, they'll times Haaland won't always play. They will use a false nine approach. And look where that's got them. I wouldn't be surprised if we got João Felix and we played a false nine. It wouldn't bother me if we played a flat 4-3-3 with Eriksen in there anyway. It can still work. If we play a false nine, we play a natural nine, like as a poacher. I'm okay with that. I'm not bothered. But as much as I love Ronaldo, I'd have João Felix over him right now. I would. And yeah,
I think
another good point.
João Felix would be hugely expensive, and I don't ever see that happening. Ever.
No, I agree with you.
He's a good player. I don't actually rate him. He's a good player, but I think that we always see the snippets of greatness that he does, but he's taken a long time to settle into that Atletico side.
It's not just in any team though. Like, it's so difficult to fit into a style. Like, Simeone's a good manager, but it's so hard to fit into his style. Like, look at the select few strikers that have worked. David Villa was mid-30s. Fernando Torres went back to them on loan. He was 34. You had Falcao was 28 at the time, but before he went to Monaco, 28, 29. So, like, it's experience. You've got Luis Suarez has just left, Antoine Griezmann in their 30s. Angel Correa is probably the only other exception, because he's either played as a striker or he's played in the right wing. He's another one I think would be fantastic for us as another South American player, but he fits in well. There's obviously talks about Mateus Cunha. Like, he's a decent player, but he's not a 9, but he's actually a very good quality player. Like, it's not easy to break into this team. Like, it's not easy, but they're so good. Like, I would have either or personally, but like, I think it's a reflection. If you want to get a player out of that club, you've got to be very careful. Like, I do agree with you. It's hard to embed and all that. He's not shown enough, but the transfer fee. But look what he's done every time he's played against us. Like, every time I've watched João Felix play against us, it's been like Kaká of 07. He doesn't need a team. João Felix doesn't need a team. You get a goalkeeper behind him, Jan Oblak, put maybe Hermoso or something at centre back. Who cares about the midfield? João Felix on his own up front. He rips the piss out of us every single time.
Coming back to this point here, Billy makes a really good point. Look at how well we played in pre-season with Marcel up front. Rashford and Sancho actually play better too.
I totally agree.
Yeah, he's absolutely.
Do you know
spot on
our
there.
pre-season was? I know pre-season means nothing, but apart aside from fitness. But when did our things start to go? Tits up. It was when Ronaldo decided to turn up. Yeah. I know he had the personal reasons, so we don't know the ins and outs. But when we had that front three, we looked very dangerous. And the same goes back to before we bought Ronaldo under Oli. It could be a total coincidence, but yeah, time will tell.
I think he's. I do think he's a big problem. I think he does put a lot of players into unrest, really. Just the way that he is. Listen, I know he's a leader. I know he's won everything. He's a phenomenal player, or was at least. Scored a lot of goals last season, but I do think there is. I can imagine he's a pain in the arse to work with. Do you know what I mean? I really do. I really think he's probably a nightmare to work with.
I think mentality is such a thing. Like, he expects so much of himself that he expects so much of his players. And you look at the clubs he's been at, and only a few have actually ever stepped up to his level. And perfectly mentioned Karim Benzema. People gave Benzema I'm going to say a lot of shit for years that he wasn't a good striker. There are people that don't watch football. Like, yeah, Karim Benzema didn't score 20 goals like a season, but he scored very minimal. But Karim Benzema's link-up play through the middle for Ronaldo cutting from the left-hand side was fundamental for the Mourinho teams. It was fundamental for Ancelotti's team that won the Champions League, La Decima in 2014. The free-peat, Benzema done all of that. Does Benzema get any credit? No. And yeah, the minute he leaves, he scores a 38-goal season. He's the best player in world football for me, Karim Benzema. Like, I absolutely adore Ronaldo, but I agree with what Matt said earlier about Benzema. He does not get enough credit for how he plays. Phenomenal striker. Any team would love him. He is the best striker in football, probably the best player right now in football in general. And that's like abundantly clear just how good he is. He got overshadowed a lot, and it's because of players around him.
Yeah, good points, well made. Matt makes a point here. Is Ronaldo a leader? It's his way or the highway. Juventus couldn't wait to get rid of him. Just to make...
That's a good point.
Yeah, Romano, Edgar, thanks for bringing this in, buddy. I hadn't seen this yet. Marseille are closing on Eric Bailly. Obviously, we knew this was in the pipeline. Loan deal with Manchester United. Understand it's a loan with buy option included. I think... listen, on his day, Bailly is an excellent defender. I'm going to make this very quick. I need to get score predictions and we're wrapping up. I think he, on his day, is an excellent defender, a bit rash, but just not consistent enough. Obviously injured, like you wouldn't believe. Glass cannon. Just a shame, really. And obviously, I'd rather have Phil Jones gone, but I think with the players that you've got there, he's not going to get a...
That's another failure of the club. Keeping certain players for too long when they should have binned them after 2 years.
100%.
It's the contracts.
Yeah,
too
100%.
higher contracts can't sell it.
I just pay him off.
Phil Jones as well. How?
Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, right, listen.
I'm
going to ask your score predictions.
I was just saying there quickly. Sorry, Mark. I would have just went harsh on him. I would have just done an Arsenal on Danny Welbeck with Phil Jones. Instead of giving him a new contract when he's injured, just tell him, see you later, mate. Like, bye. Like, I know it sounds harsh, but I would be like, well, you've been here too long. You can't prove yourself. Here's 50k. Like, see you later, mate. Like,
I think it'd be a little bit more than that. But anyway, listen, we're gonna move on to score predictions, and it's gonna be a really difficult one, isn't it? I want to be 3-1 Ronaldo first scorer, but it's not gonna be that way. I don't think anyway. I'd actually prefer Bailly over Lindelof. I
disagree.
Very, very difficult. Different defenders, actually. I think you want both of them, really. I think there are... I don't know.
I think both as one defender would be fantastic. Bailly's physical presence and his pace with Lindelof's ability on the ball. That's the perfect midfielder. You don't need to sign any more centre-halves.
Yeah, and Lindelof is exactly the same as Maguire.
Very good passing.
But not as good in the air, actually. Both very good passes of the ball.
I agree. No, I agree with that.
So Matt, who's also an Everton fan, has said Liverpool 7. Well, thanks, Matt. Honestly, we really appreciate your comments, and this one not in particular at all. So there you go. Right, score predictions. Fred, you first, my man. And I mean, if you can give me a first goal scorer as well, I'd appreciate it.
I'm going to sort of go negative, but end on a positive. I'm going to go Liverpool 3-0. However, and I'm a realist, so I'm sorry to everyone watching, but I do think...
No, I like realism. Go.
However, I do think this will be... After this game, you will see an upwards sort of trajectory from us. We'll get a few more signings in. I think the pressure from this game, and everything else that's associated with it will, the players will be alleviated. I think we will improve after this game. It's a bit like Arsenal last year. They had the first 3 games, then they sort of went on an upwards trajectory. It's unfortunate because it's our biggest rivals. It's another 3 points dropped potentially. So I'm going to go 3-0 Liverpool with us improving after this game, starting with Southampton. First goal scorer, I'm going to go Diaz. I think he's got a great goal against Crystal Palace last week, and I do think their wingers are going to have a lot of joy against our wide players because our wingers don't track back. So I think Diaz and Salah could have a field day unless Ten Hag tightens thing up in the midfield and at the back.
Yeah, it's a shame Casemiro can't play, really, isn't it?
I know.
I know that the first goal scorer is not going to be Darwin Núñez. So that's obviously good. Right, very quickly then, Reece. Your prediction, please, and first goal scorer.
I think there's so much pressure on. I think there's so much pressure on Liverpool in terms of like the game. There's more pressure on Liverpool to win than there is on us because of how we haven't been with them in a long time. I'm going to go slightly different, actually. I don't think we're going to win this game, and I don't think we're actually going to lose. I'm going 2-2 draw, and the first goal scorer's own goal back for Liverpool. I think it'll be an own goal. I think Alisson will fumble the ball into his box, and then we'll just laugh and take the piss out of him. But yeah, I'm going 2-2 draw. I think there's so much pressure on Liverpool at the minute. Liverpool being very naive in front of goal as well, especially in build-up play and pressing in the box. Very naive. Salah, he's nothing without Sadio Mane. Proving it like time and time again. Like Sadio Mane was the better player out of Liverpool out of the two of them. All in all, I'm the same. Like I'm with Matt. I'm going 2-2 draw. I don't think we get beat. I don't think we get beat. I don't think we will.
I'm glad you're more hopeful than I am, Reece. Now, I did say previously I think it will be a draw. I did say 1-1. I think that's the best we can really hope for at the minute. If I'm honest, as much as Liverpool, a bit of scrutiny as well. They haven't played poorly. I don't care what anyone says. I think there was a little bit. It was a little bit dogged against Fulham, and Fulham played very well. But in the second game, they were the far better team. They played some good football. If they play like that against us, we're fucked, right? So. Pretty much. So we'll have to wait and see. But
against Palace, in my opinion, they didn't deserve a draw. In my opinion, deserve to get beat. Not because I hate them, but I think Palace were the better team.
Oh no, I don't at all. I think for the first 60 minutes up until Núñez, I think Liverpool were all over them. Palace got them on the break, and they defended well. There was no doubt about that, but. Then they became really dominant, Liverpool, I thought, after Núñez went off, which is crazy. But
there's a chink in the armour, and we're going to have a lot of work if we want to expose that. But Fulham and Palace have exposed them that they have got a chink in the armour. I think our attack, every single player has to be on their top game if we want to get anything out, a win or a draw. So it's going to be very difficult, but fingers crossed.
Yeah. Right. Listen, guys, thank you for coming on. Really appreciate your thoughts as always. I hope your weekends are really, really great, and I hope it's not ruined on Monday. But we will have to see. Listen, I just want to say to everyone in the comments, really good conversation today. Thank you, Matt, for all the comments you've made, and Billy and everyone else as well. Obviously, great conversations going on today. Really appreciate it. As I said, like and subscribe, really important to us. Please do. Enjoy your Saturdays. We've got Spurs Wolves in a minute, which is a very interesting game. And we'll have to wait and see. But listen, I will. Well, we've got a few things coming up. Obviously, we've got Talk of the League on Monday, I believe. Matt might be able to tell you a little bit more. You what, sorry?
I'm on here at 3 o'clock.
3 o'clock for the wrestling. Yeah, that'll be good fun. So make sure you come back for that, and probably a few other shows during the week. But thanks very much, guys. Thanks for coming over, and we'll see you next time.